Hi all and welcome to another week of the Truth, Honour and Integrity Show. A fairly comprehensive roundup of the news and views around the world with plenty of insights, and we're going to peel back some raw layers again. Now, in the recent show called Done, I asked a question about the cost of sleeping bags. And I'm rather pleased that I received a satisfactory explanation for the gap in costs and also donations. And so I'm happy to strike that question, not statement, from further discourse and move on. So thanks to those who came forward and answered that question. But I do find it slightly odd that when I ask a question, it is deemed attacking. And yet myself and THI is scrutinised questions every minute detail, and that is not deemed attacking. Why the discrepancy in the narrative? There were several bogus claims within that show with zero proof and a fair total character assassination, and yet no one questioned it or on him, to my knowledge. And yet I asked one question and it was labelled as an attack and grossly unfair. I guess that's just the way it is. Now, our show is mired in standing for the truth, not hopium or bullshit. There are plenty of and for that throughout the alt media for people to gorge themselves on. And alt media is no different now to Facebook in their stance. The truth goes against community standards, they say. I would argue it goes against communist standards. And communists are not Russian or Chinese, but Zionists. THI will continue to bring the truth and what is based in reality to the best of our knowledge and abilities, and it will never sway from the path of that, despite attempts from within the community to take us down. Our mission and purpose has not changed because one person decided to not fund us. We go on together. It is the only way. With the recent Vice President debates now out the way, it can be said that debates are a format for two people to compete with each other on who can speak the loudest, who interrupts more, and who can lie to the public more. Which one makes more woo-woo promises, none of which will be delivered to the people? Trump promised to build the wall. It's not done. Trump promised to delete student loans, according to the trustee. It's not done. Make America great again. It's not done. But how many times did each politician discuss policies to aid the people and deliver on them? And all this while federal, state and law enforcement officials have been bracing for possible clashes at local polling stations, violence and larger demonstrations similar to the summer-long social justice protests that spilled onto the streets of dozens of American cities. The BBC continue, courtesy of MI5 and MI6, to run slanted and biased commentaries on the US elections and candidates, fact-checking every word Trump says. Really? Now, if only that applied to everyone, eh? Trump this week did his rising as the new Jesus Christ act and returned from certain death from a fake virus after 3 days. Is it Easter yet? New York City slapped over 62 people, businesses and houses of worship with over $150,000 in fines during the first weekend of the newly imposed fascist COVID-19 restrictions against gatherings. Doesn't seem to affect politicians, but there you go. As well as a mask mandate and social distancing requirements, according to their Twitter account, spelt with an A in the middle. Now, the best thing to do about that place is to move out altogether and let the clowns fine and harvest each other. Why is Cuomo still not arrested for killing the elderly in care homes? Mr. Trump? Life Force Enforcement Team, where are you? Now, New York officials say that large gatherings and poor adherence to social distancing recommendations have resulted in a surge of new cases. Yeah, right. And many of them in the Orthodox Jewish neighborhoods, which resulted in targeted restrictions on large gatherings and non-essential businesses. Like I have repeatedly said, they care not for the average Jewish people. Speaking of New York and Jewish, does anyone know when the Jeffrey Epstein funeral will be? It's been over a year now, and yet no funeral. A bit like the Rothschilds, really. Facebook this week decided that the title End Child Trafficking Now goes against community standards. Like I said earlier, it goes against those who have treated children as sacrifice tools for many thousands of years. All hail Solomon, Herod, Esther, Samael and Lilith. Meanwhile, the Republican online fundraising platform endorsed by Mr. Trump reported on Monday that it raised $623.5 million in the third quarter. Biden collected $383 million in September alone. That's $1 billion for 4 months of donations for a 2-person closed voting system, whilst millions starve in this country. Have you all lost your minds? And this is as over 13,000 Utah voters received mail-in ballots without a designated area to write a signature. Jackassery at its finest. The US elections must go down, and alongside the saying, you couldn't organise a piss-up in a brewery. We have an ego-headed return from Christ after 3 days game show host, the opposition who doesn't know whether he's running for presidency or Senate, and the Speaker of the House who can't speak. Is this the best America has on offer? But then again, the UK has a spitting image puppet in charge, Russia has a multiple double in charge, Germany has a Nazi in charge, South Africa has a genocidal maniac in charge, and China has the invisible man in charge, while South Asia has a series of royals in charge, and Down Under has Pine Gap in charge. And we the people wonder why the world is in a mess. And the now global milligram experiment of all bow to authority, regardless of legitimacy, sanity, validity, without questioning or even a thinking process to do with the masks, just keeps on rolling. As one alt-media personality now takes on the role of a Jewish icon, who is not even Jewish anyway, a common theme now, who in a past life was a former consort of Marduk. I guess that is the thing with time. Some things will never change.